And welcome everyone to today's session of Multicloud Happenings. My name is Nathan Fuzi, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Vishal Patil. Vishal and I are product managers here at Oracle, focusing on Exadata database service and base database service, both in Oracle Cloud and in Multicloud. And we're thrilled today to be joined by Nick Wagner, Director of Product Management for Oracle GoldenGate, along with Srinidhi Kulkarni, Product Manager for Oracle GoldenGate. Nick and Srinidhi, thank you so much for being here. So for today's session, I'm going to quickly cover what Oracle Multicloud is and talk about its unique benefits. And then I'm going to share the most recent Oracle Multicloud service updates and region launches. And then I'll turn the show over to Nick to talk about OCI GoldenGate. And then Srinidhi will treat us to a console walkthrough of the service. Please use the chat or Q&A functions to ask questions at any time, and we'll answer them as we go and cover any remaining questions at the end of the presentation. Our discussion today and any future plans or dates we discuss are not a commitment and may not be incorporated into any contract. As always, if you have specific regional availability or service or feature requests, please reach out to your Oracle account team or us directly, and we'll be glad to work with you. Now, what is Oracle Multicloud? Well, Oracle has built partnerships with Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and AWS to run Oracle Cloud infrastructure inside their data centers and make Oracle database services available to their customers through their marketplaces. Physically co-locating the Oracle infrastructure alongside the CSP's infrastructure allows us to deliver ultra low latency between the partner hyperscalers application services and our Oracle database services. Another key aspect of Oracle Multicloud is the integration of Oracle infrastructure and services into the partner hyperscalers portal, their APIs, and even native service integrations that enable management and monitoring from within the partner hyperscalers ecosystem. And all of this means that you have access to the latest and most robust Oracle database services in the same cloud environment with your applications so that you can leverage your business data that resides in Oracle database for things like AI and analytics. And those services include Oracle Autonomous AI Database, which is cloud native and fully managed, running on top of the Exadata platform. There's also the Exadata database service, which gives you the performance and scale of Exadata with cloud automation for database lifecycle management, while giving you full administrative control of the databases and virtual machines. And the base database service offers a lower cost database for non-mission critical applications. And the autonomous recovery service provides a fully managed backup solution that includes backup security and immutability. And finally, OCI GoldenGate gives you a fully managed solution for high performance data integration and replication. The Oracle multi-cloud portfolio gives you a full suite of enterprise-grade data management services with mission-critical performance, reliability and scalability, security, and HA and DR capabilities. Now, here's the Oracle Multicloud Service Availability Matrix as of May. And here I'll just call out that OCI GoldenGate, as part of Oracle AI Database at Google Cloud, went live earlier this month. Please join us every month as we'll cover new launches and we'll pick one or two to go deep on in each webcast. And here's a full accounting of the available partner hyperscaler regions for Oracle Multicloud. Now, since last month, we launched 2 additional regions for Oracle AI Database at AWS, including Europe South 2, Spain, and South America, Sao Paulo. And we still have additional regions coming, and we're working to deliver them as soon as possible. But again, please reach out if you're waiting for any of the planned regions shown here or need additional AZs in an already live region. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nick to talk about Golden Gate and the recent launch. Nick?
Thank you very much, Nathan. Appreciate that. And you should all see my screen now. So let me just start with a quick overview of GoldenGate. So GoldenGate is Oracle's data integration solution. So we can do all sorts of database replication, moving data from just about any database to any other database for a lot of different use cases. It's used all over the place within Oracle, non-Oracle environments, as well as even embedded inside of a lot of third-party software products. Uh, Let me just kind of quickly touch on some of the use cases. So the first foray that many customers have into GoldenGate is done really simply through doing something like a zero downtime or no downtime migration. This could be migrating or upgrading. So you want to go from one operating system to another. You want to go from on-premise to cloud, one cloud to another. GoldenGate gives you that flexibility to do it without any downtime. We can even do it between different databases. So if you wanted to migrate from SQL Server or Sybase to Oracle or Postgres, you can do that as well. We can also do multi-cloud data integration. So this just simply says as long as you can make a connection to another GoldenGate environment or to a source or target database, you can use GoldenGate to replicate there. And I'll actually get into some of the topologies as well. We also do a lot of analytics data ingestion. So this is moving data from your relational databases into something like Snowflake, Google BigQuery, Redshift, Databricks, the different analytics platforms out there. We can also do high availability. So this is taking a single database and increasing the scalability and availability of that by doing active-active replication. And I even have a topology slide for that too. We can do application data streams. This is kind of a newer one with GoldenGate 26 AI. This allows us to take the data that you're capturing from any environment and actually do real-time subscription and publication of that data. So GoldenGate has something called a trail file, where we store all of the changes from the source database, and now you can actually subscribe to that trail file. And so we'll push out messages, kind of replacing the Kafka interface there. We can also do stream processing and analytics. This is through the GoldenGate Streaming Analytics product or Oracle Stream Analytics product, which allows you to do real-time analysis of the data as it's flowing through a GoldenGate environment or through a topic. Really great things. It allows you to do things like time series analysis. If a stock is going up or down, that's not really important. It's how quickly it's going up or how quickly it's going down that you want to track. It can also do geospatial inference as well. So, if somebody comes within a certain distance of my brick and mortar store, I can actually send a push notification to the app saying, hey, we noticed that you're here and you've arrived. We'll check you in for your appointment. So really cool things like that. Very nice product. And of course, this is all AI ready. A lot of people are talking about AI. GoldenGate is no different. And I'll actually get into how GoldenGate can be used for AI as well. Now that we've talked about some of the use cases, I wanted to quickly highlight the different sources and targets. A lot of people think that GoldenGate is just an Oracle solution, or we can only capture from an Oracle environment, move it to a couple other systems. That's definitely not the case. Not only with GoldenGate and OCI GoldenGate, but we have tons of different source technologies. Everything on the left-hand side can be a source. And so this includes not only a lot of different Oracle products, but SaaS applications like Fusion Cloud, Oracle Hospitality, Transportation, Retail, Cerner. We can capture from a number of third-party databases, including IBM Mainframe or DB2 LUW, SQL Server, pretty much all the standard databases that you see out there. Third-party vector stores as well. We can capture from data and vectors stored inside of Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, and then also we can integrate with third-party messaging solutions. That includes capturing from things like MongoDB, DataStax, Kafka, Cassandra, and then we have through integration with Kafka Connect to actually connect to a number of different applications like Salesforce.com. And then once we've captured the information out, we can then push it to anything that you see on the right-hand side. Uh, because there's over 100 different sources and targets, we've kind of split it out. You have your on-premises environments where you've got, self-managed environments. Within OCI, Azure, Google, and AWS, there's a lot of different platforms that they have, whether it's native or through their marketplace that we support. For a full list of what GoldenGate supports and doesn't support, just go to your favorite search engine and put in GoldenGate Cert Matrix, and it'll come right up with the list of sources and targets that GoldenGate supports. And of course, all of your chat engines and are all very familiar with what GoldenGate does and doesn't support, and they'll even break it out for you by version as well. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a little bit about AI in all my presentations. We just see it so much in the workplace now. And so GoldenGate does integrate with different AI services. Uh, what we see the use cases with GoldenGate is most often pulling in the raw data and then doing real-time embedding of that data. And so this would be capturing from your relational databases, your data sources, and actually moving that raw data into your AI databases or your AI systems. And then GoldenGate can actually call the native embedding technologies directly in that system to embed the data and create the vectors, or we can actually call an external AI service to do it, whether it's the Oracle OCI AI services or something like ChatGPT. Any of those AI services, we can actually make remote calls out to them to provide the embedding for us. So very smooth, all in line, makes it very easy to maintain changes throughout the system and to track all the AI activity that's going on. Let's get a little bit into topology. So when we talk about the different topologies for GoldenGate, we talk about kind of source and target databases. I don't have it listed out here because it really could be any one of those. And you have a GoldenGate server that sits in the middle. Within a single region, this is very simple. You just have your GoldenGate processing. You have an extract, which controls which tables you're going to capture from. Any changes that we capture based on the list of tables there goes to our trail files. Our trail files contain only committed data, and it's all in the exact same order that it was committed on the source database. So it's all chronological in time, and that means that these become kind of our source of record. We then have a replicat process that will take that trail file data, convert it into an actual insert, update, or delete statement, or DDL, and then apply it into that target database. GoldenGate takes care of all the data type mapping. So if you're going from like an Oracle to a BigQuery environment, GoldenGate is going to take care of the data type mapping, character conversions. It takes care of just about everything. You just simply need to tell us, hey, this table name on the source goes to this table name on the target. And if everything's the same to table names on the source and target, you just use wildcards. So it can be very easily done. We can also do things like remote capture. So let's say that your source environment isn't running in the same region that GoldenGate is, or it's running on premises. You can actually have GoldenGate capture from a remote system. In a typical environment, we can support about up to 80 milliseconds round trip ping time. And so that allows you to get a pretty good distance, about a couple hundred miles between the actual GoldenGate environment and that source database. On the apply side, it needs to be very close because this replicat process is very chatty with the target database. If you get to a situation where your source and target databases are further apart than what we allow with the kind of latency requirements, then you can actually have multiple deployments of GoldenGate. And this kind of skips ahead a couple slides, but essentially what we see here is bidirectional replication across multiple regions. And so we have an extract process that's capturing from a production database. It's replicating that data, sending it across a network, where it's then applied into another database on the other side. And then on that same other side, we actually have another capture process replicating back to the source. And so you get a bidirectional replication here. This could be active-active. It could be for high availability. We also see customers doing a lot of different variations of this. GoldenGate can do one-to-many, many-to-one, database consolidation, filtering of data, migration. So there's a lot of different use cases. Each of these processes are all kind of differentiated from the other and can be implemented and set up individually. One other thing I'd like to mention here, if you're sending data between two GoldenGate environments, we do use what we call a distribution service, and this is just responsible for capturing anything that happens in that trail file and sending it to the other system. You can do a little bit of filtering in the distribution service as well. So you can say, hey, I only want a subset of tables to go over to these other systems, and that makes it a little bit easier once and deliver to many different targets for different use cases. Now, to get into some of the good meat of this presentation, we would like to announce that GoldenGate is now part of the Oracle database at Google Cloud. This was actually launched on May 19th, so it's been up and live for a little bit, but this is kind of the first opportunity we had to really talk about it publicly. And so you have basically the way it works is the same as any other service within the Oracle database at Google Cloud. You can pay for all this with your Google Cloud consumption credits. You provision it directly from the Google Marketplace, and then you would go into the Oracle database at Google Cloud, and then you'll see all the different services there, including OCI GoldenGate. GoldenGate supports not only all the Oracle database at functionality, including, autonomous database and Exadata Cloud Service, but it also supports a lot of the native Google technologies like BigQuery, AlloyDB, PubSub, Cloud SQL, Cloud Storage, Google Cloud Storage, Spanner. Um, this has actually been a very, very good partnership for us. As part of the partnership, both companies were very excited to get GoldenGate introduced as part of this partnership. And as part of that, Google also wanted to be able to add support for Google Spanner for both capture and delivery for GoldenGate. So that's in the contract as well. And they've been working with us to provide a Spanner delivery or a replicat in GoldenGate. And that's now in preview mode and should be certified in the next month or two. It should be a part of our July bundle patch. We're also working on being able to capture from Google Spanner and capture from Google BigQuery. So a lot of customers want to be able to move their analytics into BigQuery. They run their analytics processing on it, but then they want to send some of those changes back out to the relational database that it came from. And so that's a really good example of where we want to be able to use BigQuery to push data out of that system and back into your relational databases. And we have launched in, I believe we're up to 12 or 13 different regions now with this service. So it's available in all the same regions that Oracle AI database at Google Cloud is available in. We also have the same thing for Azure. So you can go in and do it with Azure as well. You have native OCI GoldenGate running there, and we're live in 33 regions. And of course, we have support for a lot of different heterogeneous environments, including all the Oracle database technologies, but also a lot of their third-party systems and Azure native environments like blob storage, data lake, Azure Data Lake, Event Hub, Synapse, Analytics, SQL database and managed instance, database for MySQL, Postgres, even Cosmos DB. And then I did want to touch on security real quick before I hand it over to Serenity to kind of walk through how it works. And GoldenGate takes security very, very, it's one of the most important things we look at, especially now with everybody trying to use AI to hack into systems. And I'm not going to walk through this entire slide, but the bottle or the kind of the shortness of it or concise story is that GoldenGate will encrypt all the communication from the capture process to the database. So any connections that we make to the database is encrypted. Any data that GoldenGate writes to that's at rest or puts in motion is also encrypted. Any communication we make from the replicat process to the target database is also encrypted. We integrate with third-party encryption plugins for storing your keys as well as authentication within GoldenGate. And then all the communication from GoldenGate clients, such as the web user interface, the admin client, or the REST API, those are also fully encrypted too. All right, so now I'll pass it off to Serenity to kind of walk through the demo.
Sure. Let me share my screen real quick. Okay, yeah. So before I start with the quick demo, I want to call out the prerequisites to have the Golden Gate set up and running. So this is one of the most important steps before you can set up any extracts, replicate to capture and replicate data. So at a high level, there are 5 prerequisites. So firstly, the customer needs commercial onboarding through Google Cloud Marketplace. So with that, that would allow them to link their GCP project with OCI tenancy. And second, the Google Cloud project must be ready so that the billing is enabled and your cloud APIs are enabled. Third, the most important before you can get into provisioning of any resources is the setup of the networking. So the network must be prepared with a VPC pre-created. So an ODB network or any of the Oracle database at Google Cloud resources require a VPC to be created as part of prerequisites. And the fourth one is the IAM policies and secret management that is required and needs to be in place before you provision any of the resources. And fifth and lastly, the Golden Gate deployments must be provisioned along with the connections to the source and the target. So that should allow you to move on to the next step where you can set up the extracts and replicates and get going with the replication. So once you have the commercial onboarding and project readiness or completed, you'll see the order with along with your plan already whitelisted to be used within your GCP console. Once that you have in place, you can move on to the second step where you would be creating a VPC. And that VPC is used with as a prerequisite for creating an ODB network. So ODB network is something that links the Oracle side networking constructs such as the OCI VCN and subnets to the GCP object model, which is the networking construct within Google Cloud. And customers should have two common choices. So they can either go with a smaller and simpler setup where they have a single standalone VPC, and that is specifically for a single project, or they could also use a shared VPC where the network team controls the host project and application or database that is deployed. And the other Oracle database at Google Cloud resources are deployed or provisioned in service projects. So as I said earlier, you would also require some of the IAM roles and policies need to be in place before you start provisioning. So for specifically for Golden Gate, these are some of the roles that you would have to create within Google Cloud. And this is in addition to any IAM roles that are required to run Golden Gate as a service within OCI. So you would have to first create the roles in GCP and then move on to the OCI and create the roles within OCI as well. And then now we can provision Golden Gate for this use case. Uh, the plan is to replicate data from Oracle AI database at Google Cloud to BigQuery. So we would need two deployments of Golden Gate. So the Golden Gate for Oracle deployment will be responsible for capturing data from your Oracle AI database at Google Cloud. And we would need a secondary deployment, which is a big data deployment type that would be responsible for replicating to BigQuery. So the Golden Gate resources must be created within the same region and zone as the ODB network. And when creating the Golden Gate deployment, the customers have choice or the options to select the deployment type, whether they want to create Oracle database, Golden Gate deployment, or SQL Server, PostgreSQL, or big data, depending upon their replication use case. Along with it, they also have to size the Golden Gate deployment. So the sizing of the Golden Gate deployment is based upon the transactional volume, the latency, the number of tables, and the transformation complexity that they would want to achieve with along with the replication. So once the deployment is provisioned, the next step is to configure the connections. So a Golden Gate connection stores the credentials along with the network details and the resource information that Golden Gate needs to access the source and the target. So in this demo, we would need at least three major connection types. One would be the connection type for connecting to Oracle AI database at Google Cloud. The second would be for the target, which is BigQuery. And the third one is the Golden Gate connection. So that is basically required for moving the trail files from your Oracle GoldenGate deployment type to a big data deployment type. So at this point, we are ready to set up the replication, but we haven't yet created any extract or replicate process. Everything we have covered so far is the foundation, that is onboarding, the IAM roles, the source or target provisioning, along with the GoldenGate deployment provisioning. So this allows you to start with the replication work. So on the source side, there are some prerequisites that are required to be done before you start capturing data from Oracle database, such as adding the Tran data, which allows you to capture any change data by GoldenGate. And then the other prerequisites are the connections that we just discussed, along with the data sets that needs to be created on the target. So the use case I'm going to showcase today is simple, straightforward, where there is an application that is connecting to an Oracle AI database. The application can be any retail application or order processing application. So which allows the application to commit or host their schema within Oracle AI database, which is of transaction processing type. And once the data is captured and replicated to the BigQuery in near real time by GoldenGate, then the analytics team on the BigQuery side can run any of the analytical queries, such as they can ask what orders that came in during the last few minutes, what are the regions that are generating the most revenue, or it could be as simple as which high value customers just became active and are placing orders. So that's where the BigQuery fits in. It gives analysts and any data scientist a serverless analytics platform without putting any reporting pressure on the source Oracle AI database. And that is all achieved in near real time by the GoldenGate deployment. So let's jump to the console. So this is how the Oracle database at Google Cloud Console would look like once you have the billing and project set up. So you would see an option along with the other database services. You'll see an option called as GoldenGate. And right now at present, it shows up all the deployments and connections that would be created
Hey, Srinidhi,
before. Yeah.
I'm still seeing a different browser tab. Maybe you need to switch your sharing window. There you go. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the Google Cloud Console for Oracle database at Google Cloud, and you would see GoldenGate along with in all the other database services. And within the GoldenGate tab, you'll have the deployments and connection listed. For now, the option to create deployments and connections is through Google G Cloud CLI. So you can refer to a documentation on how to use the GCLI to create the deployment as well as the connection. And once the connections are created, you can also assign these connections to the deployments. So once the deployments and the connections are created, you'll see the deployments and connection listed under the GoldenGate tab. And you can connect to any of these deployments through a Bastion service, which could be within OCI Bastion managed service, or you could create a VM in Google Cloud and access the GoldenGate console. So if I switch to the OCI console, you'll see the similar GoldenGate deployments that were listed within the Google Cloud console. And you can traverse to any of the deployments. So as I discussed for the demo, I have two deployments. So one is the GoldenGate for Oracle deployment. You can see the deployment type as AI database. And this is the current version. And this is the private IP. So that's why I could use the OCI Bastion service or a VM Bastion VM to connect to this private subnet. And for the demo, I'm using the autonomous AI database at Google Cloud as the source, and it is transaction processing workload type. And for the demo, I've set up two simple tables where I would be creating some of the customers within the demo user schema along with the orders that would be placed by those customers. So once you have you have provisioned all the resources that are required for the replication setup, you can open up the GoldenGate console. This is how it would look like. So on the GoldenGate console, you'll see the DB connections. Let me check my version. Okay. Yeah. So within the DB connections, you can easily test the connectivity from GoldenGate to the source database. So I could just click on the connect button and it would show that you are successfully connected to the database from the GoldenGate console. Once you have the GoldenGate connections ready and able to successfully connect, you can add the TWAN data that is required for GoldenGate to capture any change data that is being committed for the tables that GoldenGate will be capturing data from. And once you have all this in place, you could go to the extracts, create an extracts. Within the extract process, it's very simple. The parameters has to specify which table does the extract has to capture data from. For the demo, I've used two single database tables within demo user. You could either go up a level and just specify demo user dot asterisk, which would allow GoldenGate to capture data from all the tables within the schema. You could also go more granular if you want. You can specify the columns, specific columns that GoldenGate has to capture data within this table. So it allows much more flexibility in order for GoldenGate to capture data. Once the extract is running and capturing data, it writes the data to a trail file. So I've given the name C1 as the trail file. And you could also check on the statistics for the extract. So if it is already being running and you have committed some of the DMLs on the tables that extract is connecting to, you could see the statistics within the statistics tab. So once the extract is up and running and you have the trails being generated, we would want the trail file to be sent to the big data deployment. And to do that, you would have to set up what we call as a distribution path. So within the distribution path, I would have to specify what is my source trail name, which needs to be sent to the target, and what is my target connection details, along with the trail name that I want to land the data within the target deployment. So once the distribution path is up and running, similarly, you would see the trail file being landed within the big data deployment type. So I could easily go into the receiver service and that would show up the same trail file that was being sent by the extract process or the distribution path. So you can see the same trail, the receiver service being generated, and it creates the same trail on the target big data deployment. So once a trail is landed within the big data deployment, the next step is to create a replicat process. The replicat process will read the data from the trail file and apply the data to the target that you have chosen for your use case. So in this case, for the demo, we would be replicating to big data. We would be replicating to BigQuery. So for the BigQuery target type, we would be using the Google Cloud Storage as a staging. And then we would finally merge the data into the BigQuery data set. So within the properties file, we would have to specify which bucket we would be utilizing for staging the data. And within the connection, we have all the details for connecting to the BigQuery target. And within the parameters, we can specify the data set name where the tables would be created along with the DMLs that would be replicated uh, from the big data replicat. So once the replicat is up and running, it would be reading the data from the trail file that was being sent from the source. It reads the data, replicates it, and you would see the similar statistics on the replicat side. So once the replicat is up and running, you can go ahead and do some DMLs as well, just to make sure the data is flowing through. So I have few DMLs that I can easily commit on the source. I can go to the source GoldenGate, go into the extract. You can see there were two inserts that were captured. And once the data is captured, I can go to the replicat. I can do a refresh, and that would show up the new DMLs that were captured by the replicated by the replicat process as well. And I can also run a query on the source database table just to make sure we have the same data and the data is consistent across source and target. So this is what I committed. So you can see 103 and 1004 is the customer ID that I just committed on the source. And if I go into the customer table, so this is the data set name that I've mapped within the replicat. And it has the same schema definition or table definition as the source. You can go into quick preview and you can see the same customer IDs are replicated to the target as well. And it's not just inserts, we can do few more DMLs like updates. And before I commit, I can just check. So these were the stats. 4109. Can quickly commit the data. Okay. The updates. Yeah, so there were three updates. It captured one more update from the source. Can go back here, three updates. Let me refresh. Four. And it's pretty real time, but you can also control the flush interval from the replicat to the BigQuery data set. Yep. Yeah. I think it's as simple as that, and it's near real time. You wouldn't have to wait for any batch ETL to run to make your data available for your analytics team to run their queries on BigQuery. You can easily set up GoldenGate that should allow you to replicate data from any of the supported sources. It's not just Oracle. We do support multiple connection types, so you could capture or replicate data from any of these supported sources. Could be Oracle, non-Oracle, running on-prem, running in third-party cloud or Google Cloud. So you could use any of the supported source and target and replicate the data in near real time. I think that's pretty much it. Back to you, Nathan.
All right. Thank you so much, Srinidhi. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Can someone confirm?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Srinidhi. That was really good. I don't see any pending questions in the chat or in the Q&A.
There
Looks like
was,
Nick has.
yeah, there
Okay,
was
go
one
ahead.
question. Nick, do you want to just repeat that question and share your answer with everybody?
Yeah. Just, uh, just you don't somebody doesn't have access between Amazon DMS and OCI GoldenGate. Obviously, cost is a big difference here. GoldenGate can make things a little bit easier to use and simplifies it, but how do we kind of educate the customer on this? And so there's a couple of things with, I did have that slide up that talked about the distance between the replicate and the target database, that it should be less than 4 milliseconds. That's just kind of a general guideline for relational databases. For non-relational databases, things like Snowflake, we can often do micro batching or group transactions together and apply them in a chunk so that 4 milliseconds no longer applies. And it can kind of be increased to 40 milliseconds. I've even seen it a little bit higher depending on the volume. So if you can find an OCI, Azure, or even a GCP region within 40 milliseconds round trip ping time of their Snowflake environment within AWS, you could use OCI GoldenGate there, and that would be a lot less expensive. And then we are actively working with Amazon to see what we can do to include OCI GoldenGate as part of the Oracle AI database partnership at AWS. We don't have anything to announce at this point, but hopefully we will soon. So you have a couple of options. For those that do have the ability to look at chat, I did answer it. As far as the differences between GoldenGate and something like DMS or any of our competitors, we have a white paper called GoldenGate Advantages. You can just Google that too. And that will give you more information about how GoldenGate compares to some of the different competitors out there, what technologies they use. DMS uses a binary log reader, as well as LogMiner, and both of those are covered in that paper pretty extensively. Okay, I saw a whole bunch more in chat, but I see that that's just Nathan putting in playlist. Okay, so I hope that answers it.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so these are some additional resources, and Nathan has posted the links in the chat. So please take a look at these. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. With that, there's one more thing I want to mention is all of these sessions are recorded and posted on the Oracle Database Product Management YouTube channel. There is a playlist called Multicloud Happenings. So you can see we have over 35 videos so far as part of the Multicloud Happenings. This webinar happens every month, and we record the session, we post it on the YouTube channel. So if you have missed anything from the past, you can always look at these sessions, revisit these sessions. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. There is a QR code to scan. I've also put the link for the YouTube playlist in the chat window.
Awesome. Nick, Srinidhi, thank you so much for joining us this month. And thanks to all of the attendees who came this month. We'll see you next month. Thanks again. Have a great day.